अस्सलाम वालेकुम sir.
Walaikum Assalam.
कैसे हैं आप?
I'm fine.
That's great, wonderful. Okay, so tell me about your education, about your qualification, and also what do you do nowadays?
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity for sharing my ideas, sharing my views. First, I'm Imran Anwar. I'm currently working as the chair of the Department of Mathematics. I did my PhD from Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences.
Alright.
So, Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences was established in the year 2003 as a center of excellence for promoting mathematical research in the country.
Okay.
So that was one of the place where one can think of one can think of a lot of new areas, new ideas come up in Pakistan. So it bring a trance in the country in the sense of producing a large number of PhDs.
Okay.
Because that was one place where the trainers, the teachers, and every faculty member who was well equipped with the latest mathematical knowledge, they were coming from the developed countries, mathematically developed countries, I would say, and they were coaching Pakistani students, and all the students who got the admission there, they got the fellowship.
Okay.
So they don't have to pay any fee in the sense. In return, they were getting a scholarship for studying, but that was for exclusive time commitment. And we had that particular rigor training during our PhD program, so where we have to work only with mathematics from 9 till 5 p.m. and doing nothing else, only mathematics.
That's wonderful.
So I did my PhD I completed my PhD in the year 2008.
Okay.
And during my PhD there was a problem where I was working at, that was a conjecture. A conjecture in mathematics is an open problem which remained open, which is unsolved for many years. So it remained open in the year I was born, 1982, and it remained open till probably I was born in order to solve that particular thing.
Okay.
And in my PhD thesis I was able to give a partial answer to that particular question, and that particular work has been published in one of the most prestigious journal in mathematics, namely Journal of Algebra, that earned a very good reputation for me during my PhD, and due to which I got the distinction in my PhD. I earned a pre-PhD quality research award for that.
Amazing.
And later on I joined ComSets Institute on the completion of my PhD, and I served in ComSet for 7.5 years. And after completing that particular tenure, I joined again Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences, but this time as a faculty. And my role was again the benefits what I enjoyed to transfer that particular thing to the new generation. So in other words, my juniors who were studying there, but that time I was working as a teacher for them. So again, it was a wonderful experience working there, and I must say that particular span, that 5 years I spent in Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences, that gave enormous experience to me working as a student, working as a faculty, also working as a student, because that is one place where, that is probably the only place in Pakistan where rigor mathematics is being done, where the people spend like whole day working only on mathematical problems, discussing, solving things on mathematics. So that is a wonderful place, and in that particular 5 years I had an opportunity to work with Amir Iqbal, who is one of the leading star mathematician and theoretical physicists.
True.
So we probably the persons who are familiar with physics, the recent research in physics are going in the area of string theory, and in Pakistan there are very few persons who are working or even familiar with the string theory, and Amir Iqbal is one of those. And he has such a charismatic personality, in the sense of whenever you go to him and talking about mathematics, so he always described how physicists see math, and mathematicians always carry the abstraction, and physicists carries an intuitive mindset of that particular, explaining that particular theory in physics. So that was a wonderful experience working with the theoretical physicists sharing mathematics with them, and asking their narrative and perspective about the various mathematical theories. So in any case, so after working 5 years in Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences, I joined LUMS as a chair of the Department of Mathematics.
Great.
And again, my role is here to develop this particular place in the same way I have developed Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences for last 5 years. And again, my role in Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences was to bring the foreign faculty, to make the strategies, to make the policies, to enhance the standard of mathematics in Pakistan, as well as nurture the young brains in the sense they got the reception in the international universities. So during that particular tenure, one of our student got the admission in Eindhoven University, Netherlands, one in Graz, University of Graz in Austria, one in CISA, one student got admission in United States. So they are small but very little, but there are few success stories, and a large number of students were studying at the school. They have done a very good quality research, working along with the foreign professors who were visiting there. And we, through that particular visiting program, I was trying to introduce those areas of mathematics in Pakistan which are not present.
Okay.
So there are many areas of research. For instance, this is quite an important point, because if you appoint 10 people, and the 10 people are working in 10 areas, so you have 10 area, you got the production unit where 10 areas are being promoted in Pakistan. But in Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences, through the visiting program, this 10 is not there. It means you can expand to 50, and you can go beyond to that. So the capacity which the visiting program was bringing there, that was quite humongous. And but on the other side, you need best of the best student, and you need to get them trained so that they can work on rigor mathematical problems. So that was one of the mission which I was accomplishing there, and now in LUMS carrying the same point of view.
But tell me one thing, just as you were mentioning earlier that you were a student when in Abdul Salam School, but they were only hiring the foreigners. How did it come that they hired you? I mean, the local people. Was it because of your background or your skill?
In fact, there was a change of administration at that particular time. Initially, when this school got started, it was understood that when the students started graduating from this particular school, so the students will be deployed as a faculty, and they will work along with the foreign faculty, so that we
training for
so that we get the proper you can say experience working with the foreign colleagues. So I can say that this was a wonderful idea, and because I had gone through that particular phase when I was a student. I was working I was as a student, but working as a student. And also we were working as a trainer to youngsters, because at that time School of Mathematical Sciences used to hold international mathematical Olympiad camps, training camps. So some selected students were asked to train those students who are coming from schools and preparing for the International Mathematical Olympiad. And I was one of those students who were selected, and we were preparing lectures and we were delivering lectures where our teachers were our foreign teachers, I would say. They were sitting in the last row, and they are observers. After every lecture, they came to us and said that this is the point that can be explained in this way. So a lot of training we had got from that particular experience, but working with the foreign colleague, that was another experience what I gained during the last 5 years. But this is unfortunate that still the institute does not have the permanent faculty position for local.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why there are not many local faculty members, and that need to be promoted. Otherwise,
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it can't be like we could not be the dependent on the whole life that we are running an institution over there. We are dependent on the foreigner instructor. It's better we should hire them. Of course, we pay them a huge amount.
a huge amount.
We hire them to train the local people, to
Yeah.
train the local instructor.
Exactly, the idea was
idea
exactly
was
the
very
same.
good.
Idea was excellent, but it never matured because I don't know the government policies. Because I know whenever an institute is constituted, there is a document which is called I think the first document, the annexure, which contains all the structure of how this what kind of vacancies will be announced, what kind of policies will be there. This is called service statutes.
Okay.
So the service statutes, which was constituted in when the school was constituted in 2003, it never changed. And during last 5 years, it was sent to the secretariat for multiple revisions, but no permanent faculty position has yet been produced, I would say, in the service statutes. So because there is no permanent faculty position, so there is no permanent local faculty. So even I worked there on 1 year contracts. So this was really very hard. You are working on 1 year contract, and at the end of every year you are putting your performance, and then there is a board of governors. There are 10 people who are sitting, and they are gauging your performance, and then they are saying, okay, grant him 1 year more contract.
Yeah. So you
And this is a kind of life what retired professor used to live. So I can say that I lived my retirement in my career working for 5 years in the beginning of the career. I would, so 5 years as a retired professor, working on 1 year contracts. And
one more thing, Imran, this is you were mentioning that students need to be very good in order to learn, in order to study in Abdul Salam school. But tell me one thing, I mean, students usually do not have interest in mathematics. We know it. It's a boring subject. Students claim that, and on the social media they usually say, "Who was the inventor of this mathematics?" They ask this question.
Yeah.
And you are saying when you are sitting in Abdul Salam school, you have to do only mathematics from 9 to 5. So how was that experience?
let me just add this particular thing. I don't know the sciences book, the science text which is being taught at school level. They try to give a flavor to our student about the contribution of Muslim scientists. But they don't tell about anything about how they come up to that particular level. Okay, if we talk about Jabir bin Hayyan, so Jabir bin Hayyan invented this. If you talk about Ibn al-Hashim, he did this. If we talk about Al-Khwarizmi, he did this. But nobody ever said that, okay, if we talk about Al-Khwarizmi, how he came up to this particular ideas, how he came up with these theories. If we talk about the golden era of Muslims, then we talk about the golden era of Greek researchers. So there is one thing which is still valid in today's time. Those nations who are good in mathematics and astrology, not astrology, astronomy. Let me just correct it, please. Not astrology. So astronomy, they are the one who are the ruling nation on other nation. This was the case when the Greeks were there. So the philosophy, the language was building, the thinking was giving the shape, the questions were properly posed, how to pose a particular question. So Greek philosopher taught us these things, then Socrates, Aristotle, and all the rest of the philosopher, they developed the language where the logic came into being. And when the logic started getting some meaning, then the mathematics come into play. So all the great all the great scientists, I would say, even Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Galileo, everyone, each one of them, if you read the history, they are all polymaths. If we talk about the art, so Leonardo da Vinci, everyone knows about Leonardo da Vinci, but did you know that he was a polymath?
Nobody's.
So
we know about painting.
All the major contribution to philosophy, to sciences, what we are studying today, the calculus would not be possible if there is no Newton.
True.
There is no, so all these persons were polymaths. And you might mathematics, this is quite a common dialogue. People say that math is the mother of all sciences.
Yeah.
And there is a solid reason for that, because all the scientists who were studying scientific theory, so the step is okay, if you want to study any scientific theory, you have to translate into the terms of mathematical language, and those mathematical language will ultimately turn into the things which are hidden from your mind. So that's why mathematics is, whenever you are trying to solve any problem, anything, so mathematics is there. I should mention one of the greatest teacher, I would say, in sciences, physics and math is Richard Feynman.
Okay.
And I must say that there should be one chapter given in our sciences book to only Richard Feynman. So how good he was, in the sense, there is one instance I should mention here. One day Richard Feynman was sitting in his kitchen, and he was cooking his food. He was basically making the spaghettis for himself. He picked the box of the spaghetti and picked the one spaghetti, and he break it. You can try it as well. So he break it. It breaks into 3 parts.
Okay.
It turned out into 3 parts. He took the second spaghetti and break it. It turned out into 3 parts. Again, he keep on breaking, and every time it come up with the 3 parts. This is a simple looking problem. Ultimately, he wrote a long paper on it. What is the reason why the spaghetti always comes in 3 parts? Why not into 2? Why not into 4? And later on, the people who solved this particular answer, so recently a team from MIT and Harvard University, they gave an answer, and ultimately they built an algorithm, and in other words, the physics behind why the spaghetti comes into 3, and they got improbable research IR Nobel Prize.
Okay.
Improbable research Nobel Prize on this particular problem. And if I talk about various mathematical problems, there are a huge list of these kind of interesting things. You can think of, okay, this is a simple looking problem, and when you get into that particular problem, it turns out to be
inside.
So sometimes very simple looking thing will give you an insight to many important discoveries in mathematics and physics. And you know that particular thing is being used in the breaking sciences. So engineering sciences, where people used to study the breaking of the structure and these kind of things. So that was spaghetti thing turns into a very
engineering thing.
And if I talk about engineers, the father of engineering is Fourier, Joseph Fourier. And Joseph Fourier was also a mathematician. So if we talk about engineering sciences, if we talk about physics sciences, if we talk about any sciences, so all major researches and breakthrough are coming through mathematics. And if we talk about the upcoming era, is about artificial intelligence, machine learning.
True.
And one cannot take off mathematics out
Computer
of it.
itself is mathematics.
It is itself. Many less people. This is another chapter which should be included in computer sciences book, even in physics book, even in maths book, textbook. That Second World War was come to a decisive mode. It was decided by mathematician Alan Turing. So Alan Turing was the one who broke the Enigma code, and ultimately that breaking of the Enigma code turns out to be a decisive role. It plays a decisive role in the conclusion of that particular world war. So I can say that mathematicians have saved life.
Alright, so just as you were mentioning, like the mathematician, the mathematics is a field that is available in every sciences. Even if you talk about computer engineering, you were giving about the example and all. Now, what do you think? Why students are losing interest in mathematics, or is it only my perception? Is it only the perception of the people who are not into the mathematical field? So they take it from the outside that people are getting bored by the mathematics. And secondly, I take it like people do not know what is the real implementation of everything they are learning in mathematics. What is the real implementation of that in the life? I have seen people asking this question: what was the purpose of teaching us the quadratic formula? Where do I apply it in my life nowadays?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is it the difference between the life and the study life, between the books, or is it something which is not being clarified when they were studying, how you can implement it and how you can use these skills to develop something new in this modern era?
This is really important question, and in Pakistani prospect, everything is linked some way, one way or the other, is with the grades, culture, what we are having here. And secondly, I would say that the method of teaching has not changed. If I talk about the teacher who taught me at that time when I was at school, and the same mod is being adopted, and there are lots of new things has developed,
And most probably the same content as well.
same content as well. And secondly, the most important thing, again, there is a quotation by Richard Feynman: if you are finding science boring, and science mean mathematics is inside it,
Yeah.
then you are learning it from a bad teacher. So this is one thing which is really very important. But during our time, I can say that, okay, I'm that much old when there was no internet access available when we were at school. I still remember when I was pursuing my master's degree from UET in the year 2001 and 2003. At that time, there were internet connection was there. There was a computer lab which was available at the top floor of the library,
Okay.
and you have to write your name there and wait for your turn. So after 1 hour, there was a bell rang, and then the name were called. Those people get in for next 40 minutes or 30 minutes, and then this is the way the internet facility was available at that time. But now the internet facility is everywhere. It is
Yeah.
just a click away from you, and even for the kids, we have all kinds of gadgets. We have all kind of things. But the main issue in our education system is that our students are not being taught to learn from books. They don't pick any book. If you talk about the latest book, if you talk about Stephen Hawking, so if you talk from any student, do you know about Stephen Hawking? So probably they
might
might
have seen
know,
the movie.
they might have seen the movie, and they might have many of them would not have give a watch to that particular movie. No scientific content is being broadcast in our national television or these kind of thing. And moreover, the students are not finding their interest in sciences. So if you have interest, then you can try to learn. So the students are not finding any mode of interest, and the way it is being taught, the teachers are not pushing the students to the books for the research, to do the things, to find the facts at their own. And to be very honest, if we talk about even the gravity, if we talk about the light, if we talk about electricity, if we talk about mathematical discovery, okay, only about the right triangle, you know about Pythagorean formula. So if we talk about the polynomials, you was mentioning the quadratic formula. Did anyone ever said that there was a fight in Italy where people used to bet in finding the roots of a cubic polynomial? And there was a complete book. There was a complete book out of it. And in fact, there is a fun story that finding, how to find the roots of a quadratic polynomial, but there was a formula for cubic polynomial as well. And the person who discovered this particular formula for the first time, he kept it hidden, and he kept on winning various bets out of it. The people give him the polynomial, and he said, how much money will you give me if I find the roots of this thing? And then he bagged a lot of money out of it by hiding his formula. So there was a lot fun story. If we talk
And when
about
he has revealed it, people are saying what to do with it.
the other person, his friend, revealed it by writing a book on it. Similarly, did you ever know that Galileo was sentenced to his house? How he was house arrest when he first gave up this particular idea that the earth is revolving around the sun. So initially
Yeah,
it was believed that everything is revolving around the earth. So when Galileo first time observed that that is not happening, so the first person who came up with this particular conviction is Bruno, who was burnt alive for bearing this particular idea, because it was against the teaching of the church. And similarly, when Galileo came up with this particular idea, so he got convicted and he was house arrest. The problem is that If you talk about scientific things, did any of our student had ever gone through the writing of the great men? This is a really important thing. I was studying a particular note by a mathematician. The real dilemma of our age student, I can say, is that, or today's student, is that we came across the writing of the one who are the textbook writer, but we never came across the writing of the persons who are the great men.
Who are the
Did
real-time scholars.
our students never came across a single paragraph written by Albert Einstein in the graduate, in school text, even in the graduate text? Did anybody ever question about any student, any paragraph in the calculus? The person who invented the calculus, he was Isaac Newton. And do our graduate student or undergrad student ever came across the one writing of Albert Einstein or Isaac Newton? No.
That could be translated in the modern
And
language.
this, whenever there is a debate going on the single national curriculum, and I simply don't understand why. What is the need of it? Because academic ideas always come out of the box. If you, me, and everyone is thinking in the same way, so there will be no progress.
True.
So we need one person who think differently. So the major flaws in Pakistani, I could say, academia is that our academia is quite a unidimensional. So our students are not being told the stories behind the discoveries. If I talk about the Pythagorean triplet, so do you know about the formula of the Pythagoras? Do you know how he discovered it?
Of course not.
He was trying to make the musical rhythm, musical note, sa re ga ma, the sur, I would say.
Yeah.
And he was picking the knot, and
Okay.
he said that, okay, if I pick these particular 2 points and then I draw this thing, so then the 3 knots give me a different sound. So the discovery of Pythagorean triplet, which ultimately formulated in the form of a triangle,
Mathematics.
so it comes through the music. So
Okay.
did any book tell you this particular story of
Of
Pythagorean?
course not.
So if we talk about the Pythagoras, so he was a philosopher, he was a mathematician, he was the one who gave the lectures on morality. He was such a wonderful person. And okay, if we talk about the irrational numbers, square root 2, that discovery was first done by Pythagoras at that time. And Pythagorean at that time, they do believe that every real number can be written in the form of fraction. But once again, there is a myth probably, or there is an instance which is named because Pythagoras lived 550 BC, 500 years before the birth of Christ. So during that particular time, there was a voyage. People were going in a ship, and one of them shouted that I just discovered that there is a number which can't be written in the form of fraction. So the other were Pythagorean, and they strongly believe that, just like a faith sort of thing, that every number can be written as in the form of fraction. And he said, no, there is one number which can't be written. So do you know what happened to him? All those Pythagoreans simply drowned him in the sea. So you said something which is against our belief. So there are a lot of strange and funny stories, I would say.
I believe this is also happening nowadays. I was in a conversation with a person. He's also a teacher in LGU. It was approximately a week before, and he was also giving us that cave story. You might have heard about that, the caveman.
The caveman.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I mean, when you come back and you tell people that this is not the way to live, this is not the reality. Reality is something different. The outer side is really brighter. They kill you. This is true. But anyways, there is one thing that you have said, and that is the gist of your speaking, of your answer, and I am not gonna run you away from that. That is, you said if you do not find interest in mathematics, if you do not find interest in the science subject, who is teaching you?
Who is
Teacher
teaching?
responsible.
Yeah, teacher is responsible.
Now tell
Content
me. Let me complete. Now tell me, how can we work on the teachers? Because if teacher is responsible, teacher is actually responsible for building the nation. If a nation is not getting built, of course again teacher is responsible. What is the first step? How can we improve the education system by working on the teachers?
The main thing is that in fact this is a very very important and very very interesting aspect. Before going into that particular thing, I should mention that my teaching philosophy and my teaching thing is I always believe that teaching is an aspect which is I would say which demands the input from the two persons. One is the teacher, the other one is the student. And that's regarding to student, the attitude, because if you want to learn something, then you can learn. So many people, it is regarding to linguistic thing. Many people said about that the English writing is not so good for many students who are studying at the government school, in the government school, and that is one thing. So they do face linguistic problem, and some people thought of if they go to some particular special training classes, the thing will improve. So it is not the case. So your skills, even your speaking skills, that is the basic instinct of any human. It has nothing to do with math or physics or science. So it is linked with your own yearn for learning. If you don't yearn for learning, you have no quest for learning, so you can't learn. So the attitude of the student is also, we can blame teachers, and I'm coming to that particular point. But during this particular year, you can't only blame the teachers. The system, definitely system has some flaws, but regarding to student, if nobody stopped him watching, reading the books, watching the documentaries, many wonderful documentaries are available on YouTube on the discovery of electricity, discovery of mathematical equations. There are lot of stuff out there, but the only thing you need to be a quest. Okay, you find quadratic formula. What is interesting about quadratic formula? Just Google it, and a lot of cluster of wonderful stories will come out of it. Similarly, so their student attitude is also one thing. If we talk about the teacher, I had an opportunity to train the teacher. This is really, I think the toughest thing in the world is to train the teacher.
True.
Train a teacher.
To train a person who is already so perfect.
So perfect. This is really. I must say that Socrates probably had said that you can't teach to the one who's thought he already has learned, and similarly he already knows everything. And similarly, Stephen Hawking has I say encapsulate this particular catastrophe in one sentence, that the real dilemma of humanity, it does not lie in the ignorance, it lies in the delusion of the knowledge we are having. So we are living in delusion. So regarding to the teachers, I would say that there is a serious thing which is need to be done, because you can't fire everyone.
True.
You
and
can't find
the solution,
and this is not the solution. How the Americans, how the Britain system works. So whenever there is already a system in place, they put another system in place in experiment. Let this particular system goes as it is, and then they started developing the new system, and the new system, and they do the comparison of the two, and automatically started replacing the existing one with the new one. And ultimately everything is changed. So if we are sticking with the same set of teachers, and we are sticking with the same, and we are putting our new teachers in the same pool, so we are expanding the same pool, we are not building any new pool. That's why I'm not in favor of single national curriculum, because it will kill the experiment in the academia. The academia thing, I would like to say that you are not performing well. Sorry to say, to quote you. If I say you bluntly that you are not doing your job good, so you will ask me, okay, how should I do? Then I will say you, okay, look at MIT, Princeton, the people they are doing. They said that they have these kind of facilities here, so give me that kind of facility, then I will do it. So there is always a question of the resources. And to be very honest, teaching and this kind of thing does not link with the resources. I don't believe on that particular thing.
True.
Because many people with very low resources, even in Africa, they are they are doing a wonderful job. So if African people who don't have the food, they can impart in academia. So why don't the people who are working in the big cities or even in Pakistan? So we are a blessed nation in some sense. The poverty is there, but not at that much because everyone has something to eat.
Yeah, of course.
Look at those countries who does not have these kind of access.
True.
So the way to develop to correct a system, there is no way to correct the existing system.
Okay.
So the exact way is placing a system which is parallel to this one, and maybe two, maybe three, and then work in developing those particular systems. In America, there is no one.
Yeah.
So there are different systems who are working. So there is a STEM system, there is an ACT system, there are other school system, and they are all working. So and everyone is nurturing. So. And we don't want everyone coming out of the same system. This is a bad thing. We need to change, have the system. Okay, if we want the productivity, we pick these kind of people, these kind of people, these kind of people, these kind of people. Sit, put them together.
Combination.
Combination. So same kind of people is not going to work. If we talk about the faculty in the university level, again, I ask you to visit any university in Europe or America. They keep a balance. How many national they would like to have, how many foreigners they would like to have, even how many Africans they would like to have in their faculty, so that the race thing can be controlled. So because there is a person who is African, he is already in the faculty. In Pakistani academia, we don't have this kind of culture. We have all the Pakistani, and even in some places we take care of, okay, if there is a KP university, so all Pakhtun should be there. If there is a Punjab university or a university in Punjab province, again all the and similarly if you go into Sindh, so all the Sindhis should be working in that particular. So this kind of mindset is something which is against the cultivation of ideas. And if I talk about Ibn Sina, and if I talk about Averroes, Ibn Rushd, and if I talk about Al-Khwarizmi, the major, I would say, the major impact of the House of Wisdom was they have the scholars from all part of the world. So they have Muslims, they have Jews, they have Christians, the people from Europe, they used to sit there. So the people from various provinces, various continents, they were sitting in one place and sharing their thoughts, sharing their ideas. Imagine a class in Pakistan, even in the class, you are sitting in a class and where there are 5 students from Pakistan, 5 from probably from India if everything went well. Okay, 5 is from Bangladesh. Okay, I'm not going into Europe side. Okay, 5 from okay, even from this particular region. So sitting in only Pakistani student class, sitting in only this kind of class, so this will change your mind. And if there are some Europeans sitting in the class, so the mindset simply changes.
I agree with you. Just as like sitting in a one culture class and sitting with a multicultural class, it would give you a different exposure. Same as having one education system in the country and having multicultural system in the country, multi-educational system in the country, it would give you different sort of exposure, which is really needed. And just as you mentioned, it's not only the teacher who is responsible, it's not only the teacher on whom we should be working, it's the whole system.
Whole system.
Yeah. Institutions are there, government is there. So just tell me, in your opinion, what are the steps that institutions should do and the government should also take the responsibility of?
Okay, regarding to the faculty, I forgot to mention one point that in the higher education system in Pakistan in placed, we make higher education very much accessible to everyone. This is not the case with the first world nation. This is a real thing. Please, education is free, education is accessible up to a certain level, but higher education is not for everyone. And unfortunately in Pakistan, higher education is a kind of thing that is quite cheaper. If someone would like to get a degree of masters and PhD, it is quite easy to get now. And making PhD and MS cheap, we are seriously compromising on the quality. And now, if one talk about okay, what is the meaning of PhD? It means doctorate in philosophy in particular subject. Now, I would like to ask a question: how many PhD students did ever came across the language of philosophy, or do they have any course attended on philosophy? I had an interaction with a Danish professor. He came from Denmark.
Okay.
And in Denmark academic system, no one can obtain a degree in PhD without attending a course in philosophy where there is a set of philosophers, Spinoza, Nietzsche, and Kant, and there Socrates, and there is a 5 philosophers whose work is being exposed in front of them. And those students, this is really very, very important in the higher academia. It is not about you are clearing the grades. It is not about you are going to do some calculation which earns you a publication. It means you have a thinking mind. You can read things, and ultimately you can think independently, and you can't think if you don't have any experience of philosophy. Philosophy is linked with your way of thinking.
True.
And this is so unfortunate that we made PhD very cheap. The universities, I was completely against this evening system which is being in place. Okay, the evening system
is getting done only to get the piece of paper.
The piece of paper. If you run the business of degrees, so ultimately you are getting the faculty. If you advertise a position for the faculty, so ultimately those PhD or those masters will be sitting in the interview, and you have to pick from them. There is no other choice. And if you talk to them and you ask them about this subject, they don't know. Their knowledge is completely hollow. It is so unfortunate. I have done a lot of interviews, a lot of things, and this is so unfortunate. People are getting the PhD degree. I mentioned Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences. That was an institute which was a rigor place.
Okay.
If I talk about rigor, so people are getting PhD degree for cheap. There is no rigor training is in place. Some people think of okay, sitting in front of the computer and typing down and writing down the paper. And if you talk about it happened to me once that there was a candidate in an interview, and he appeared in front of the board and said that I have 70 publications. 70 publications is a huge number. In first world nation, even one professor might have reached to that number throughout his life. But he was a young PhD and he was having 70 papers. And once, okay, I asked him a question: can he name 3 to 4 books, textbook, the area he is working at? And he could not name a single. And this kind of, if you are producing this is a question to everyone. If you are posing, you are giving a degree to a PhD person who never exposed to book, who never got the rigor training. So the concept they are having is similar to the one who is getting the matriculation. So if a matric student look at the mathematics at the moment, so they look mathematics as if there appeared some problem, I have to solve it. That's it. And if in order to solve a particular problem you need a formula, you pick a particular formula, you apply it and solve it down. So this is a narrow thinking. I would say not narrow. They are not exposed to the higher level theories. So that is quite acceptable at matric level. But you can't expect these kind of thing from a person who is having a PhD degree in his life.
I say the institutions are doing business over degrees?
Yeah, this is absolutely true.
All right.
And there is a huge compromise on rigor. If one talk about how much rigor training,
we are not getting trained for rigor training, because if we do so, we will feel it. Life is exactly the way you are talking about.
And if
life itself is about
and somehow during this particular era with the IT thing, there is one thing which our students are quite very uncomfortable with.
Okay.
If a course is being offered in a university where one professor is trying to in place a standard and trying to place the rigor practices in his course, and then there is another professor who is weak, who does not know to the details of a particular course, and he hide everything. And he was I can quote my own example. When I was in UET, there were few teachers I admire a lot, that oh wonderful, because whatever they teach I understand. This is the basic idea many students think of. Okay, whatever the exercise he started, I get everything of it. And they were my ideal teacher. Then I got the admission in the Abdul Salam School of Mathematical Sciences, and I was sitting in the first row and attending the lecture of the same course which I had already been taught by one of my ideal teacher. Ideal teacher in the sense, because whatever he taught me,
You got it so well.
I got it so well, and there was it was so transparent for me, and I think of that wonderful teacher or this. Do you know what he taught in the whole semester? It finished in 2 lectures. So this is the
You're
main
dragging
idea.
it for no reason.
So okay, the teachers who are not equipped with the rigor training, they don't have the deep knowledge. So ultimately, they keep you at a particular level.
and they fabricated by
And
doing some activities here.
so my advice to all the students: if you're finding a course very easy, if
This
you're
is not
counting
the course you're
this is
looking
not
for.
the success of the teacher. You
Okay.
have to check once again. Now the sources are there. You can go to the MIT OCW, MIT online courseware. All the courses being taught in MIT or Princeton. So all the contents are available. Look at the contents, look at the graduate text, and then you will realize how much is being taught. So this is the main issue. In Pakistani academia, the biggest, I would say, the biggest corruption is being done in this particular part. The course is that much, and it is being taught that much, and this
Understood.
particular part is the comfort zone for the student, for the teacher. And trust me, from where the mathematics or other subjects started, when you are finding your foot difficult in placing in a particular subject at graduate level. I'm talking about graduate level and undergrad level. If you're finding a course very easy, it means you are not in good hands.
Good.
If you are finding it difficult to catch the space of the teacher, then this is something.
Yeah.
If you look at if you got the chance to look at the videos which are available of the same lecture, if I talk about linear algebra or calculus, everyone read calculus at university level. Look at the lectures in MIT or Princeton and the level they are delivering there, and then you can compare it with the classes you have been taught in the university. You will clearly see the difference. So if you know less, and that is what is happening with our system. A teacher is being trained with this particular less training. When he is put into the practice and he become teacher,
You do less than what?
do less
No,
than.
Yeah, of course.
And students are finding it quite easy that he is a wonderful teacher and he is a wonderful.
And they also know his exam pattern. This was his questionnaire last year. He's going to repeat it this time. And the most
This
of
is
them they do that.
quite expectable that
Very well explained about the teacher side, about the institution side. Now let's talk about the government side. What are the responsibilities of the government to make or build the strongest system that could really give benefit to the nation?
Okay, a lot more stress has been given in the form of research.
Okay.
Okay, I would have to name Professor Dr Rahman here.
All right.
Dr Rahman was a magician in the sense in Pakistan, because he formulated Higher Education Commission, introduced international policies and international practices in the universities. Let me just tell you one thing. If I had a visit to Russia, and in the year 2010, and when I received there, so I was received by a hotel manager, and the hotel manager was showing a lot of respect to me, and I asked the reason why this is so. He said, "You are a mathematician." So I didn't understand that particular point.
What's the relation
In
between the
Pakistan,
hotel
if you
management
go to mathematics as your last resort or sort of thing, or anyone who pursue his career, I am one of those who pursue my career in mathematics due to the reason because I don't want to leave maths from my career, because I like mathematics from my childhood. So at that particular point, I figured it out that in the first world, the major difference between the first world nation and third world nation is where you place mathematics. And this is not the case now. It was in the past as well. The nation who rules other countries, like the golden era of Muslim, during that time, Patel or the House of Wisdom and the whole mathematicians were Muslims. So it was the Muslim era where they were building new theories in mathematics. Algebra was developed, then Umar Khayyam came into play. He put the thing algebra into geometry to view those particular thing in a beautiful way. But the main thing is that in America, even in US, the best of the best students goes in mathematics. So there is a highest merit is with the mathematics. And same is the case with Russia even till today. Same is the thing with the Germany, with the European countries. And I had a conversation with the German professor about it. Okay, what is your say on mathematicians as a career? So he said that the number of students we inducted in our university for mathematics program, they are best of the best mind. Number one. Number two, the student who graduated from this particular system, so many of them who are average or below average, they went to industry. So they don't send the best mind to the industry. This is the important point. In Pakistan, there is no reception of mathematician into the industry, but in US and in Germany, so the best of the average student or below average student went to industry. The best of the best brain, because obtaining a PhD position and getting a tenure track position in a university is highly expensive in Europe and United States, and this is and one young PhD has to spend like 10 to 15 years in order to obtain one position, one tenure track position. It is so competitive to obtain. So in Pakistan, I think everything is in the reverse order. And when Professor Dr Imran has inducted this particular tenure track system in Pakistan, and he was bearing the same idea, making this tenure track quite expensive, only the good researcher would come. Trust me, I said that you have one system in place, then you can't change them until unless you build a new system out of it. What Dr Imran did, or the policy maker, okay, they were already a system in place. They were professors sitting in the university, and even till today, if you ask those professors who are the Nobel laureates and in physics, who are the field medal is or Abel Prize in mathematics. So even they don't know the difference between the field medal and Abel Prize. A few months ago, I was sitting in a selection board where we were appointing for a very high post a person for a particular position, and I asked him the same question: can you? So you are going to be appointed in this department as a key person and in mathematics. So can you name one field medalist, a person who obtained field medal in maths? Any one name. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And that particular person is a dean in some university already. You can think of the persons who are the caretaker of policies. They are the highly ignorant person, and they are the king in here. In other words, they don't want to be bring into light. So what Dr. Imran and the policymaker did. So the professors who were not doing research, they started giving money to them. They open up the funding. If you are going to supervise a particular student, you will be getting this much money. Let me open this particular business which is being done in all the universities. So if you look into any university, the graduate programs, not lumps, other universities, most of the places, the system is that any professor who is supervising a particular number of students, for each student he is getting extra money out of it. So in some universities the money is like 25,000, in some universities like 50,000 or something. For PhD supervision the amount is even higher, 150,000 and something. And if you are in place in the university and you are asked to do the research, but what Dr. Imran did not do, he didn't invest in building the culture of the university, which nurture the research. Research is not something I pay you this much money, now produce one paper for me. And this is not the way the research is being done in the Cambridge, in MIT or in Princeton.
Areas,
You have to develop the policy, the things where the ideas come up. So this is unfortunate that most of the Pakistani universities, no new novel ideas, no new theories are coming out of it, because again the system was the same, and the same system was given the money in order to build the money. So now in terms of publications, we built up. Now we are standing in comparison, we can be comparable to China, to India in terms of producing research publication, but in terms of ideas we are standing nowhere. In terms of the quality, I can say the quality mean, if a student from Pakistani university is going to German university or in European university for higher studies, so they should come here. The European should come here in order to obtain. So this is so unfortunate that we don't have any place where, even forget about student, even you can invite any best researcher
True.
to sit in and train our young mind. So training our young mind mean our student does not, because they have got the training, they don't like rigor. So if they find something difficult, they try to run away from it. And this is one thing which is quite bad. It is just like an anesthesia, or you can say any drug is being addicted in the vein, that whenever they are exposed to rigor thing, they simply ran away. And same is the case in research. In research, if you have read the stories about the great researchers, they have spent nights and days working on problem, thinking about things, and they're coming out of some novel ideas, but that particular culture is not there. And then ultimately the good brains, the one who got good training, who got equipped with the rigor training as well, there are many individuals sitting in Pakistan, and I must appreciate their effort. Everyone is trying to make an impact on their personal capacity, but the policies of the universities or ranking, which was abolished by Tariq Benouri sahab. So this is one thing that what I really admire about Tariq Benouri. He abolished it. So don't put the universities in the ranking. Ranking is one thing. Okay, if you can see that the university, or now in the Time Higher Education ranking, Abdul Wali Khan University that appeared once as a number 1 university.
Okay.
And now the new ranking, according to the new ranking, that is number 2. Do you really think if it appeared as number 2 highest ranked university, it means every student in Pakistan should be running to Abdul Wali Khan University Mardan for obtaining an admission in that there? Or all the people who are in Asia, they are running to Abdul Wali Khan University because it got that much high ranking. This is simply fooling to ourselves. We are not standing anywhere, and we are chanting at ourselves on the basis of I would say fake celebration sort of thing. The ranking thing comes quite later, once you have attained a particular level. I should mention that once I was sitting with a German professor, one of my friend, Tim Romer, and I was asking that what is a typical graduation, a PhD system in Germany in place. He said the traditional system in Germany was we enroll a PhD student, expose to him to rigor maths, exposing him to the latest theories about mathematics in all areas, our core areas of maths, algebra, analysis, geometry, and these kind of things, and then let the student free to go and read the research paper and read about various theories. And then the student spent all his time in studying and building his own theory. And the current example is Peter Scholz.
Okay.
Peter Scholz ultimately he spent like 2 years or 3 years working all alone without any supervisor. This is the important thing. And in Pakistan, when a student went to go to a supervisor, he expects that he is the one who will give him the problem, who will guide him through, but this is the way the new ideas didn't come. So Peter Scholz,
depending on
you are thinking the way the other is thinking. You need to think independently.
Good.
So Peter Scholes come up with his own ideas, his own theory, p-adic geometry idea. He just mix the two ideas and bring up a new theory, which ultimately, when he did his PhD thesis work, then he shared his thesis to a professor who he thinks can understand what he is doing. And then the first person he disagrees that I'm unable to understand this particular. Then he went to the second professor, and the second professor read it, and then he agrees, okay, I would be your supervisor when he is done with his thesis. And when he has done with his thesis, then he opted as supervisor. Then he went for the PhD thesis defense, and this discovery, the new area in mathematics, earned him a field medal. So
Amazing.
that field medal, so to whom you can credit, because that was only the coursework where the new ideas, new things were developed, were exposed in front of him, and he was thinking, he was working all alone. So
Amazing.
we don't have these kind of examples in Pakistan. Our PhD system is quite rigid. Students are working on a very short time, strict time framework, and the supervisors are obsessed with producing a lot of
Even
publications.
students who are in Pakistan, they are saying that it's better to go abroad to do the PhD and not to stay here in Pakistan because it's not worth doing it. But yeah, please.
Yeah, because the culture is not here. Because if we talk about John Nash when he was student, you probably might have seen the movie of The Beautiful Mind.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
So John Nash was when he was a student, so he was quite an unorthodox type of student. So he was having a different kind of personality disorder.
Okay.
And we do have these kind of students. So they're in other words, our education system is not giving space to move you out of that particular stretch line. So we don't have these kind of culture in our. So even in the Europe, in the first world nation, if you go to the classroom has changed now, even in schools. So I happened to visit once in a school in Canada, and we were working as a math. We were running, the Dalhousie University was running a math circle where the university professors and teachers used to go to the school to expose to kids in a fun way the mathematical theories. And do you know, when we were standing in the class and we were discussing about various ideas and we were playing with the kids, there was one student who was sitting and he feels something bored. So in the same classroom there was a cycle, the running exercise cycle sort of thing. He sat on that and he was listening to the lecture. So then there are other gadgets
So it
present
means
in the class.
learning has no connection with the discipline.
With the discipline, it does not. It does not. And we still have a very strict class environment. And even in the university, we don't give our disciples. So this is a term which is quite missing in our culture, sort of. So disciple is one thing that we expect a lot of respect from our graduate student, that if I am going, so the student will be carrying the books and going behind the supervisor, the bossy sort of culture. This is a really bad culture, because if you are my student, we are working on a particular research, so you are my teacher in many times, in many ways. You are the one who will be sharing some new insight in that particular theory I was not aware of
right now.
So even this kind of so people in Europe, in America, they call their professor by their name, but in Pakistan, sir, madam, sir, this kind of
bossy culture is here.
So the bossy culture is here. We need to watch a lot of movies so that
to get the exposure.
Well,
Imran, after talking to you, I have regretted why I'm not a mathematician. But it was so extensive information that you shared with us, and thank you so very much for your time. Thank you so very much for sharing these valuable thoughts that I believe everybody should know, and we should start giving value to the mathematics as well, and to the mathematicians as well in our society, in our culture. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank